Shelby Smith, Jiminy Crickets. Today I am going to show you around and give you a tour of the Cricket Castle. So it totally slipped my mind that I have never actually given you guys a formal tour of this entire place, this entire setup. So even though it is like 30-mile-an-hour southeast wind, freezing drizzle, 30-something degrees, we're going to start outside because we need to see what the outside looks like. And I will show you what this whole place looked like in another life. So stick around for a tour of the Cricket Castle. Oh man, it is cold out here, but all in the name of YouTube, right? Ugh. Right, I'm trying to get out of the wind so that the audio isn't absolutely horrible. So this is what the Cricket Barn looks like from the outside. So believe it or not, this used to be a single wide mobile home that was going to go to the landfill. I think it was a 1970 something model. I'm pretty sure I took a picture of the manufacturing plate before we started renovations, but this is what it looks like from the outside. So we built this custom staircase to go with this, so that didn't come with it obviously, but you can see the wheels underneath. So this is a mobile unit that outer dimensions, I believe it is 12 feet wide by 56 feet long. It might only be 54, but I can't remember. Definitely 12 feet wide. It can't be wider than 12 feet and go down the road. So that is what it is. So that right there, that's the ventilation fan hole. There's one at the other side of the barn as well. And this is my reminder that I need to go plug those up for the winter so that cold air doesn't come in. There is the hitch, and if you come around here, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but hopefully you can. That is the well house. That's where the water comes from. We pump it in through there. So that's been winterized, so we will deal with that later in terms of filling up later on. That red and white shed we use for storage, so we store things like frass, extra bins, extra waterers, stuff like that. That, let's go inside Cricket Barn. As we come in, I do just want to point out there is a window in here. So one question I get commonly in my other videos is, do I have natural light that comes in here? This is the only source of natural light. The door and the window in the door. Otherwise, there are no windows in here. You don't need any place for heat to escape, and windows are a big source of heat escape. So after we walk in here, the first thing you will see is this counter. This counter is multifunction. Workbench. We do a lot of stuff here. It's where stack egg flats, clean waterers, set up feed trays. This is basically a catch-all for everything. It's at a really good height. I recommend if you are building a workbench, make sure that you have a height that's like not like a table, but something that you're going to be standing at. It's a lot more comfortable to work at. And it's solid wood, and then it's got like 7 coats of polyurethane on it. Think of it kind of like a bar, like if you've ever seen a wooden bar that has a really thick coat of sealant. Very similar on this one. I think I put 3, maybe 4 coats of polyurethane on it because we needed it to be pretty durable. So this is the first thing you see when you walk in, and then we do have storage shelves here behind me. So there's those ones over there and those ones. It's where we keep a lot of extra waterers. And then the I am really bad at pointing backwards on this. It's like being in a mirror. I need to flip my brain around. Anyways, so that right there is the exhaust fan. So that's the box that we have built for it. You saw that on the outside. I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera around and show you some other stuff on the workbench because it's easier than for me to try and point whatever way. So give me a second. All right, so here's another view of the workbench workspace area. So you'll notice underneath here on both sides we have storage, but right there, that is the water tank. So that is where we get the water from. It is run to the sink. I'll show you the pump and everything as well. But so here's a better view of our storage shelves there. So like I said, a lot of waterers. We have the extra paper towel rolls, things like that. So then this guy right here, I will show you how this works. So this is a whole exhaust fan. So we have a big old piece of insulation there to keep everything insulated. But like I said, I will be stuffing up that outside exhaust pipe so that the wind doesn't get in, the wind and the cold, because we are in for bitter cold here shortly. And so that is just controlled by a light switch, which I'm not going to turn it on because it's cold outside. But so that is the exhaust fan. So yeah, give that a bigger, there we go, bigger slam. So that is what the front of the barn looks like with the storage shed and everything. I'll go a little bit more in depth about the water now. So this is a, I think 200, maybe 250 gallon water tank that, like I said, we fill up with the well house that is outside. And then it is, the water becomes running water because of this little RV pump. And then we have a utility sink here, which is catch-all for what we do. So the water runs with that pump from that tank. And like I said, underneath here we have storage space, so those are just some extra bins. Those are the ones I started with. And then I have extra heaters underneath there, so in case any of them go kaput, I have buckets. There's always buckets around here. So I have the vacuum cleaner underneath. That guy is the real MVP of keeping spiders and other pests at bay. That's what we use the shop vac for the most. And then, like I said, more buckets, bucket of rocks, trash can, peat moss that we'll use for breeding substrate, more peat moss that was in a different package that is transferred into there. So in here, like I said, outside, I think the dimensions are 12 foot wide by, like I said, 54 or 56 feet long. Can't remember on that one. Anyways, in here, it's between 10.5 and 11 feet wide. And like I said, either 53 or 55 feet long, depending on whether it was 50. You lose about a foot, maybe a little bit more, 18 inches or so from the insulation in the walls. And then I think 9 foot high. Does that seem right? Yeah. So these are 6 foot tall shelves. Like the poles are 6 feet tall. So I think there's another 3 feet up there. And then it's peaked roof, slanted roof on top, so that we don't have any like water leakage issues with the roof rather than having a flat roof. So usable space in here for me. I wanted a mobile unit for various reasons. We looked at shipping containers, but in terms of your actual usable space, shipping container, by the time you get done fitting out everything you need, so good insulation, if you need to plumb it, electric, all of those things, your usable space, like, it's just not a lot for total square footage. So something like this gives you a mobile unit but more usable space. So as we take a little walk through here, these front shelves, so let me back up here slightly. These front shelves, so like this one's all storage. This one usually we use for incubation, but now with it being winter, I like to move my incubation over to where all those tops of bins are in the middle, so that we get it away from the door, which tends to be a little bit cooler, so it doesn't work out super great. So all of these are on wheels, so moving them into the middle I think is helpful. But where all of these empty racks are, I will be filling up with more bins. It was a project that I'd put off until now. So there will be approximately 32 more bins in here, in addition to the 109 that we already have up and running. So there are quite a few shelving options that you have. These are the ones we use. They are wire shelving units that I bought at Sam's Club, but I believe they're Seville Classics, and not I believe, I know they're Seville Classics, but they're actually cheaper at Sam's Club. So if you have a Sam's Club around you and you want to go this route with shelving, this is what I recommend. The reason I went with these is because when I first started, And when I built this, I didn't necessarily know what my ideal setup was going to be in terms of bin type and all of that. These guys are adjustable in terms of the height that you can put the shelves at. I mean, you are restricted on the width. I want to say they're 4 feet wide. 4 feet wide and 6 feet tall. So you are restricted. You can't have something more than 4 foot wide, obviously. But depending on what heights you're messing with the bins, that's why we went with these, because they were adjustable for the price in terms of the engineering that goes into them. I think you can put like 600 pounds on one of these, so that's quite a few crickets, more than you could ever get in that kind of square footage. But that was why we went this route, because they were adjustable, because I just didn't know what I wanted yet. I think, well, I know they would have a lot longer usable lifespan than wood. And I mean, theoretically, like wood, you can adjust that. You can tear it apart and put it back together and all those kind of things. But for the money and the engineering and everything, these guys were totally worth the cost up front. So these are Seville Classics. And the fact that they are rollable and movable on casters makes it even better. So that's what we use for shelving units. We do 2 of them together, like back to back, and then so we put the bins on. I will show you that momentarily. So that's what we use for the shelving units. And now we're getting into the good stuff. And one thing that you guys might notice, and I don't know if the microphone will pick it up or not. So I just fed these guys about an hour ago. I think the mic will definitely pick that up. So you hear them skittering around. They're very, very active right now because I just fed them. But what you will notice is there's no chirping. We are probably 10 days out from the first bins chirping. There's about 2.5 weeks difference in this barn, all in all, from like youngest to oldest. So the oldest are probably about 10 days from chirping. But total digression. I'm going to show you what we use for the bins. So these bins are 50-gallon Sterlite bins that I bought at Walmart that I think Sterlite discontinued this exact design maybe a year ago or so. So you can't get ones that look just like this, but you can get 50-gallon bins that are similar enough. This one still has a sticker on it, so let me see. These are the dimensions. So 50 gal, which is 189 liters, almost 43 inches high, 22 inches wide, and 18 inches tall. So those are what we use. And then, like I showed you before, it's 2 of these wire shelves back to back. You can kind of see it in there. And then we put the bins vertically, I suppose, horizontally across them, so that way, because we run an open top bin system, they're easy for us to just pull out and do the chores in, just like this. It makes things easy to deal with, like so. So there's the happy crickets. Like I said, just fed them, so they are in a happy, happy mood. So that's how we set up the bin system in here. So it's 8 of those bins to a rack. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I have 108. What's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So what's 80 plus 32? 122? Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, so I think there's actually 133 bins in here. And I think max capacity, like I said, we can get another 31 bins in here. So what's that? 150. Guys, mental math's hard. It's not my strong suit, even though I'm have finance degrees. Anyway, so max capacity in here, you could have like 150 something or so bins. You can probably get at max capacity 1.5 million, 1 million-ish crickets in this spot comfortably in the summer at peak capacity. So that's how we have the bin set up. Let's talk about the heaters. So would you believe that this whole thing is heated by 3 of these little milk house heaters, which covered in cobwebs, typical for around here. We have a lot of cobwebs, we have a lot of dust. It just is what it is. So we have 3 of these. We have them all set on max and high, but you'll notice this is off, even though like normally you'd probably think it was on. The reason that it's off is because we have it plugged in to this guy. So this I get from QC Supply. It's a thermostat that we keep at 30 degrees Celsius, which is what, 88, 87? Mental math is not my strong suit. We've already talked about this. So this guy right here, I think he was like $56 or so. So that coil is a thermostat, obviously. When the temperature drops below that, it kicks the power on, which kicks the heater on. So it's got this pigtail that plugs into the outlet, and then this is the heater plugged into the pigtail. So this is basically, that thermostat is an on-off switch for our heater. So that way, I'm pretty sure I got this heater for $10 at Walmart. The thermostat would be crap, but it heats quite well. So you hook it up to the thermostat and you have the problem solved. I have one there, I have one there, and I have one there. I'm pretty sure we could probably get away with one more. That one right there is actually wired for an air conditioner, so it does kind of the reverse. If the temperature goes above a certain point, it kicks on. Haven't ever had to actually hook up a air conditioner, but we wired it that way just in case. This right here is the feed bucket. So this is just, we get the feed in 50-pound bags and then I dump it into this big container. I use the bucket to feed, so I just fill that guy up, and then I have my little scooper that I use. I don't measure out my feed, but I just take that little bucket and bring it with me, haul it with me while I go and feed everybody. The other undisputed champ of this cricket castle is this step ladder. If you're gonna do anything on those top rows, you need to get yourself a handy dandy step ladder like this one. Something that's sturdy, that you're not easily gonna fall off of. This thing's awesome. Probably as old as me, but it does the job. And here's what the view looks like from the back end of the cricket castle. Just rows and rows of cricket bins and crappy lighting. But this is what it looks like deep at the other end of the cricket castle. So that's basically it in here. So it is roughly 600 square feet, give or take, which is way bigger than what I started in. I didn't build this and get it up and running until 18 months into raising the crickets, and there's plenty of things that I would change in here if I rebuilt it or built another one. There's lots of things I would change, but for right now it works pretty well. But if you're curious, I am going to take you to where I started. I will show you exactly where I raised my first crickets so you can see where I started and where we're at now. It's quite different. Quite different. So hang on just a minute. And we're leaving the cricket castle. Into the frozen freaking tundra. Who decided to live here? Alright, and I'm gonna have to sit here for a second because my goodness, we have ice, so I'm gonna let that defrost for a second before I take you to where I started growing crickets. My first cricket castle, if you will. Alright, And see where I started? Briefly back into the frozen tundra. Ugh. Oh goodness, the ice. I'm about to kill myself. Yikes. Alright, so, like I said, definitely did not start in something as large as the Cricket Castle. Well, the building that I'm walking through looks like it's fairly large, because it is. Where I started was not. So, ready to see it? Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to the first cricket rearing room. This is it. I mean, it's had a fresh coat of paint since then, and things have been moved back in. That we moved out. When I originally started, that was in there. When I originally started, this table and these chairs were in there. So I had set up one of those shelves on this wall, and I started with, you might remember, the blue bins in the storage area. Started with 2 of those blue bins, 1 wire shelf, and possibly that space heater. Seems like it was a black one, but a space heater like that in this little tiny room. That's where I did all my watering and my cleanup and all that kind of stuff. I had a feed bucket that lived right there. Pretty sure we had to end up taking that trash can out of there. This bathroom, the door always stayed closed to that. And yeah, so this was what I started in. I'm not even sure. This is maybe 10 by 10-ish. 8-foot ceiling. Believe it or not, we ended up fitting, gosh, was it 10 of those shelves in here? And because they moved around, like they were all really packed in there, and then we'd move them when we needed to do chores. So my whole point in showing you this space is you don't need to start big. You don't need to start in something that is the size of the Cricket Castle. You can start in something this small. You can start in a closet. You can start with 1 bin. Just get started. Start small. Don't jump to a larger one. If I had started in the Cricket Castle, would not be here talking about it, because I would have lost way more money than I did in the first couple years. So yeah, this is where I started. Not very big. I'm happy for the space we have now. I'm also happy to have started here. And with that, thanks so much for watching the tour of the Cricket Barn and then the subsequent tour of my first Cricket Castle. I hope that this was helpful. Like I said, it is not the perfect setup. It's not the same as what I would do if I were to do it all over again, but that's what comes with experience. So hopefully this was helpful. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, all of the things. Thanks for being here, guys.